Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's a little warmer today. I think warm and heat. It's not warm, doesn't say it sufficiently. Thomas Jefferson reports the temperature is 90 degrees, the humidity is 59, and the winds are at 3 miles an hour. But again, the thing that makes it a little cooler where I'm walking is the shade. I can't be certain what the difference is, but it feels like 10 degrees. I think that's about right. So there are a couple of things going on. One domestically, which involves foreign affairs, and another has to do entirely with our over-testosterone, drugged president who talks large, but I bet one slap in the face and he would just collapse. And that's what I'm afraid of metaphorically for our country. But let's talk about his big bad bill. His big bad bill is 940 pages. And it's ironic that the president would tout it so much, since you can be sure he hasn't read maybe any pages from it. Because he's the one who wants presentations and slideshows and probably dancing girls to present to him what's in the bill. But I think it would be useful for us to talk about a couple of the high points that should label this for any fair-minded representative of the people as a big bad bill and not anything else. And that it sets a new direction for America, which is harsh and unkind and biased and intolerant, and that deviates by 180 degrees from the original conception of this country by its Declaration of Independence and by its Constitution. So that's what we're up against. And I think there are several areas that we could identify as the areas that present problems to a civilized society. So, for example, this big bad bill would cut the safety net. In the case of SNAP, which is an acronym for a food program, we're talking about 1.3 million people per month who are fed in that program. That's a lot of people who are going to suffer. That is a safety net torn asunder. Also, we have those on Medicaid, and they are going to realize that they no longer have Medicaid, and we expect that's 10.3 million people a year. The second thing that they want to do, which is they make a rhetorical point to turn it into a dollar equivalent that they can withdraw from the people who need it the most. Okay, now let me make this concrete. Work requirements. And this is going to include parents and caretakers of children over 14. They have to show that they're working 80 hours a month, that they tried and so forth. And supposedly, this is going to help the truly needy. How is that possible? Just take a look at those who are in prison. There are 450,000 who get out of jail every year. If you have any person you know in the most remote relationship from your daily life or intimately in your family itself or a close friend, you know that a person getting out of jail or prison is not going to find it easy to get work. And our prisons are a hellhole. I refer you to others who are expert in this subject. Ira Robbins at American U, he's written about this. I don't know if he's written specifically about this, but he's one of the many people who understand the issue and know how people are hurt by our public policy that doesn't give a damn about having good conditions for people. And then we should consider the funds they want to spend on creating more detention facilities. Nelson Mandela wrote and said, "It is said that no one truly knows a national jail until one has been inside the jail. No one knows the nation in which you inhabit until you've seen the inside of the nation's jails. And a nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but how it treats its lowest citizens. This is what we have here. And forgive me for those who know the exact quote, but that's very close. And when I was in South Africa, I did go to the jail cell that he had inhabited and the place where he walked. And I've read his writings. And if you're looking for something to read, to be inspired about what a political hero is and how he measures the pain so that he doesn't seek vengeance, then that's something very special. Now, our immigration detention system is overcrowded, riven with medical neglect, starvation, forced labor, forced sterilization. Families are separated. And in this bill, they want to add more of these facilities. We want to spend $100 billion more on this. There's a tech term that some are familiar with and some are not, just know it. I guess it was the Secretary of Education. I thought it was the A1 question. It's really the AI for artificial intelligence, which is apparently what our labor secretary has, our education secretary has, excuse me. I guess I was thinking in a Freudian slip that maybe if she labored harder as education secretary, she'd know it was about AI. And it's amazing that she doesn't know what it means when it's a big deal in the big bad budget bill. And what they want to have happen is that for 10 years, they, the Republicans, the assholes, what they want to have is no regulation of AI for 10 years. Now, artificial intelligence is not like those movies in which robots all of a sudden take over and do things. Not yet, anyhow. It's a program. And with the sophistication of programs, it can do things faster and more powerful than some past programs. And it's beating us up someplace else in data centers that have to be larger and more powerful to take advantage of the tools. So there's lots wrong with this. But the reason that we have to be concerned about AI, artificial intelligence, is because we already have instances in which it inhales data that is private or copyrighted. It can spread information faster and seemingly reliable, which compromises reputation, say doxing and so forth. So AI raises questions about privacy and slander, misstatements, copyright violations, music or printed. And it's a complex algorithm. Now, when I say it's a complex algorithm, here's an experience probably almost everybody's had. If you do any social media, somebody writes to you, and AI will suggest responses. Now, in my experience, these responses are tame or miss the point. They miss the edge of the remark, because I'm often expressing opinions about things that you and I share or at least tolerate each other's differences. And it's almost like it's training you what your response should be and doesn't wait until you ask for it. So, what if there's an algorithm to do this, not just on social media platforms, anything else, to suggest to you when they have the data of the information about you and the slanders against you and policy concerns that they have, that you can build into an algorithm and then enforce it without the person maybe consciously realizing they've been had. So these programs are written by humans, and they may be too fast to police if we don't think to police them against certain things, if we don't want to have biased outputs from the programs. There have been stories of law firms using it and actually writing what looks like a brief, but it has cases that don't exist. Michael Cohen apparently helped his lawyer in a case in the Southern District of New York, and the judge came back at them because there was a case they relied on that didn't exist. Reads like a law case, seems to fit, but doesn't exist. So to say in this bill, the big bad bill, that you won't regulate AI for 10 years, that's irresponsible. And you wonder, is there a kickback to the tech industry so these people can rob and use our personal information and the connections we have with computers to manipulate us to further their own billionaire-itis at the expense of us working stiffs? And when I say working stiffs, when you're comparing what you earn, I don't care if it's $10,000 a year, what could compare to hundreds of billions of worth? What could that be? So, artificial intelligence is it's sort of like the cloud. You know, people say they're going to put things up in the cloud, and all they're doing is transferring data to a different computer or server that they can access remotely. But then everybody says, "Oh, the cloud," and what's a big selling point? Everybody wanted to be in the cloud, and now, because of the fun that you can do with AI, people think that's the beginning and the end of the definition of AI, and that's harmless. Well, it may not just be harmless, it may be helpful, but it's going to require us to say we don't trust those who create the AI or those who use the AI, so we need to have some legislation about this. And the fact that there are people on the Hill that can't do simple addition should not be the limitation on what we're able to do to legislate. So, also, ironically, they're cutting back, making it more difficult for people to qualify for Pell Grants to get an education they couldn't otherwise afford. This is part of Trump's program to dumb America. This is part of their anti-intellectual bias. If people are stupid, they're more likely to do what we tell them. Well, people aren't stupid even without formal education. I've said before that in my neighborhood, the kids didn't go past high school. My parents didn't go past high school. My younger brother didn't. Now, but my younger brother, very sharp, and I always thought he was smarter because I thought he got things faster. But I think he didn't have a method then to learn something new. That said, he became a pretty powerful coder, doing some very substantial things. And I had coded myself, but he just kept going doing it. And I did it for funds while I was going to school. So the elimination of Pell Grants, my brother would never have thought to want that, but why should that be a bar to somebody else who could profit from it, or who, like myself, believed that school was my path to a life that would be interesting and of service and so forth? And I think it was. Another big step in the big bad bill is to take all those funds from the poor, like we talked about, and give a bigger tax break to the very wealthy. What kind of a country is that? Second subject that comes to my mind is about Trump on an excess of testosterone. Who leaked the report that contradicted the lie he told about obliterating the ability of Iran to have enriched uranium? And the administration's own report put the lie to what Trump said. And so this reminds me of a tradition that goes back to the Pentagon Papers, when the government uses confidentiality to conceal its lies in support of a war that they're misleading the public about. Now, it's not helped by the fact that Trump rattles a sword he knows not how to use. He says, Khomeini, you got beat to hell. Now, is this the way a partner to a ceasefire and a settlement talks? Nah. Talks like a cage ruffian when he's a big fat old muffin. And he's not fooling anybody. We look at him and we know he's just full of bull. You would think that he had been shot in 8 places and recovered rather than got his ear scraped. Now he's immortal. But you have to wonder the other evening, they had put up barriers around the White House and around the Hill. And it makes me think that the security of our president is becoming burdensome and difficult. Now, I'm not in support of him leaving office that way, but he has to leave office. There's no question about that, because he will destroy America before he learns to do better or differently, because he does not respond to the voters. He is and has succeeded with the failure of the War Powers Act to circumscribe his misconduct. He has become worse, and we have taken a strong step toward a fascist state, and that's critically important. So I pass this on. Mostly it's a summary of things I see that we should be hitting hard at, and I can't believe the Hill is the solution, because the people who talk strongly fade almost immediately from the task that's necessary to make the reform to Trump reality. And what I see is a very simple division. What's going on is wrong for America, but I, most frequently, the Republican member of the House or the Senate, I got to keep my phony baloney job. And I'm going to do that even though it compromises you, the civilian. And maybe more honest men and women of integrity will just leave the Hill. But this is a time when not to be quitters. We need people to fight this outrage in the belly of the beast. And they're not. They're running. They're cowards. They're historical people who will be cursed when they die. And they'll deserve it. Because when it counted, they didn't act. They would send others into battle, risk the entire population, but not do what was right for us, all of us, we the people. So that's what I got to say from the Cathedral of Trees. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.